And we're back. And we are back. Welcome to the preview. It literally feels like we've just got over Brentford. And that's sort of why I actually really like the Monday night football. Because, okay, no one expected to see the scenes we saw at Craven Cottage on Monday night right at the end. Yesterday felt like you were, I don't know what it was with everyone here watching, but yesterday genuinely felt like I was floating on a cloud. And then got plenty of rest last night because the adrenaline and the energy I just felt exhausted. But this is a video for Patreon members and for YouTube because we preview the game, we review the game. That is for YouTube. I want to say a massive thank you as well. The Wilson late brace wins the derby video, i.e. the 45-minute utter nonsense review where I was just sat and just losing my head and saying all sorts of stuff. We're almost, just surpassed 850 views and we've got like 25 comments. People are liking the video. That's my best performing video on YouTube for quite a while. So I guess it's down to the fact that we've won, and I think people want to indulge in every bit of content they possibly can. They probably wouldn't rank mine very, very high in everything else they saw. But thank you very much for being here. Maybe it might encourage you to come here and watch the preview for Crystal Palace on Saturday. Any Palace fans watching, don't worry. Don't worry. I have a soft spot for Palace. I'm not going to be sitting here ridiculing your team. My brother supports Palace, therefore, I don't support any other team. That would be absolutely ludicrous. But I like Palace, and I've had the pleasure of speaking with Oliver Glasner and Roy Hodgson during my time as a journalist. So I've done many a game at Palace. It was me being at Palace versus Burnley last season, which made me realise I wanted to do this full time as a Fulham journalist because I missed out on the win at Old Trafford. I've told that story one too many times now. But let's get into it. Crystal Palace away, the pride of South London, the famous Palace boys. Are they the oldest club in London? I don't think so. I think that's Fulham. And that's a boring debate that's rumbling on and still rumbles on, and sometimes props up every time the two teams play each other. Now, our sort of record against Palace of late has been fairly good. By memory, let's just go back. Last season, 1-1 draw at the Cottage, 0-0 draw at Cellar. Season before that, 2-2 draw at the Cottage, 3-0 win for Fulham. In lockdown, 2-0 defeat at home. That's the last time we lost to Palace. So that was in like 2000. Honestly, I can't remember what year. So it would be 2021, wouldn't it? Would have been 2021. Is that right? 21, 20? Yeah, 21. Because it was right at the beginning of the season. In fact, we lost 2-1 because Kearney did score. By that time, I'd already left the pub and was fed up. And then away from home, 0-0 draw. One of those Scott Parker classic where we're the better team, but can't score. So, yeah. And obviously, Fulham were relegated that season. Could I go even further back? It'd be the Slavisa season. 2-0 loss, both home and away. Awful. I remember being in the away end at that Sellers Park game. I genuinely can't remember a worse Fulham performance away from home in recent times. Well, there are plenty, obviously. Let's talk about Crystal Palace. Well, they do have a bunch of injuries. Obviously, key men out, and I think I'm right in saying that Will Hughes is now suspended as well. So suddenly, their midfield options. So what I'm guessing will happen is they'll play Henderson, Lecroix, Chalobah, Gahey, not in that order, obviously, just naming the players, and then Mitchell and Munoz as the flying fullbacks. And then suddenly you've got Kamada in midfield with what now will be, I'm guessing, Cheick Doucouré. And then I'm guessing it will just be Nketiah, Sarr with Jean-Philippe Mateta up top. But in terms of like on the bench, the only sort of option, first team player options that are outfield players that Palace have on the bench might just be Jeffrey Schlupp. Everyone else might be youngsters, unless there's anyone coming back. I'm not sure, but the team against Wolves, albeit it was a great game or a great second half, you look at that bench. Okay, Nathaniel Klein might be on the bench. Jeffrey Schlupp, Doucouré is going to take the place of Hughes, who's going to be suspended. I think I'm right in saying that. Someone texted me on Saturday night saying Hughes has got a yellow card. He's out of the next game, and I wasn't watching the game. So Turner and Matthews, both two keepers on the bench, and then a bunch of youngsters. So unless someone, I'm looking at the FOTMob sort of projections as to when players are coming back from injury, and no one's coming back anytime soon for Crystal Palace. We saw Adam Wharton get surgery. Eze's obviously going to be out for a while as well. Eze might be out until the next international break, but Glasner definitely said he's going to be out of this game, as well as the Wolverhampton Wanderers game as well. And Palace have had a strange season so far where I think they have performed okay at times, but I remember I watched the Forest game and they made a couple of chances. I thought Nketiah was quite selfish. Should have maybe played a pass a couple more times. He took a couple of pot shots, and I thought Kamada was really poor. I know the win against Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup, Kamada scored and he played better, but I haven't been very impressed with Kamada. So Palace, of course, at Selhurst Park, it's always going to be a good atmosphere. Win, lose or draw, rain or shine. Palace make a good noise, and I'll die on that hill. People say, "Oh, where's your famous atmosphere?" But from where I'm situated in the press box, you're actually quite close to the Homestead end, and they do make a good noise. They do. They genuinely do. When people say to me that Palace, they have ultras, and those ultras have been in there far longer than any Arsenal ultra or any other club ultra. I remember Leicester having a couple of years ago. And I actually know someone who is part of the Palace Ultras. Very nice guy, and he's taken me to a couple of Palace games before. And I genuinely love going to Selhurst Park. I don't think it's a great view from the press box. It's one of the worst. But anytime my cousin who's like has a season ticket for Palace, he took me there last season, or he gave me his ticket a couple of seasons ago when they played Man City. They lost 1-0. Haaland scored a penalty the day before we lost 3-0 to Arsenal. I just had a great time. Have really nothing against Crystal Palace whatsoever. Let's talk Fulham. In my personal opinion, this is a great time for Fulham to play a game of football. I should rephrase that. This is a bad time for Palace to be playing Fulham. This is a bad time to be playing Fulham. We are literally like coming off one of the most famous, one of the biggest moments of our recent history. Beating Brentford in those circumstances, a player coming off the bench, a player who's been on the fringes, a player who hasn't had much going for him of recent times in a Fulham shirt, has just basically written himself into folklore. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love the fact that Harry Wilson has done that. And now the conversation has to be, does Harry Wilson gain a start? And do you know what? Do you know what's really interesting? I don't think that Pereira's been taken off that early in a game for quite a while. I remember him coming off fairly early. You know what? I should probably double check that. But there was just a feeling that Pereira was having, again, an off night. And Marco said before the game, we need to see more from him. We just didn't. We just did not. And now you've got a player like Wilson knocking on the manager's door saying, look, I've scored a brace. I've won you the game. I can play in the 10. Start me in the 10. And you know what? I actually don't think it will necessarily happen. I think that he'll still stick with Pereira because of his off the ball work, and I say it every week, blah, blah, blah. But genuinely, he should start at the 10 because it gives us something a little bit different. I wouldn't mind if he came off the bench and gave us something different, but at that stage, you're probably thinking he's coming off to try and change the game again. We're chasing it. We're not in the lead. I think Harry Wilson has to play some part on Saturday, and that's not due to sentimental reason. That's generally due to he gave more in those 50 minutes than Pereira's given in the rest of the 70. Well, did he come on at 75 then? Oh, you know what? I'll retract that statement about him coming off early. I can't remember. My head was so scrambled anyway. So in an ideal world, and obviously, Iwobi can play centrally, but I think he's actually been very, very good on the left and the right hand side, and even against Everton when he cut in and he was playing more centrally, he obviously did affect the game as well. And Fulham can interchange. Like I've said that so many times. Like Wilson is not immune to playing on the left or on the right. He can do it. Probably more predominantly on the right hand side, and I think that gives more fluidity. Actually, if Wilson was to start at the 10, I can't believe I'm saying this. I can because he obviously did it. And he scored those 2 goals. But if I was talking last week, someone said you're going to start talking about Wilson playing in the 10. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Surely it'd be just Pereira. Anyway, the fluidity that Wilson and Iwobi can give. Iwobi can come wide. Can come centrally. Wilson can go wide. Smith Rowe can then go further forward. Iwobi can play further back, and then Berger sits. And generally, I've said this so many times. Like I'm losing my train of thought here. The fluidity of the team, the versatility of this team. Is what really helps. There are a number of players who can play wide, can play in midfield, can play in the 10. I like it. I like it a lot. So this is what I would do in terms of a lineup for Fulham. I think we'll be unchanged. So just the same lineup against Brentford. But if I had to make a change, it would be one change. It would be Wilson in for Pereira. Why not? So it would be Berger, Smith Rowe, Wilson. Nelson starting again for sure. Nothing against Adama. I actually think that Adama obviously set up the equaliser, made an impact from the bench, got out that defence, took a man on, got a ball into the box, got the goal. I'm fine, and I think he'll be fine with him starting from the bench and saying, look, 75 minutes, 70 minutes, you can come on, stretch a game, even if we're winning, if we're losing, if we're drawing, like he will make an impact. Nelson, Iwobi, and then Raul Jimenez. I didn't think Jimenez had his best game. Maybe Muniz could get the nod, but I don't necessarily think that there was enough in the Jimenez performance for him to be dropped. I just think he had a quiet game. How do I see it going? I think Fulham will win. And the reason I say that is because I think we're just on really good form. Right now, we're riding a crest of a wave. Palace have some... I mean, if Eze was on the pitch, if Wharton was on the pitch, I genuinely would be going another way with this because they are so effective, especially Eze outside the box. You give Eze a couple of yards, you're in massive trouble. Eze is one of my favourite players to watch. Like, since I started going to football and watching football, he's definitely up there with one of my favourite players to watch on the eye. He's just absolutely brilliant. So I couldn't be more relieved that he's not involved. I remember the game we played against them last season. We kept Eze fairly quiet at Selhurst Park. He had a couple of... Did he hit the post? He definitely had a couple of efforts. I'm looking forward to this a lot. A London derby. It's not a fierce derby, Fulham v Palace at all. But I think Fulham will win 2-0. I think we might keep a clean sheet here. Obviously, Nketiah hasn't scored a Premier League goal yet. That makes me insanely nervous. Mateta's always a good player. Joachim Andersen back at Selhurst Park. I wonder what sort of reception he'll get. Any Palace fans watching? By the way, thank you for watching. Just drop a comment and say what you think of Joachim Andersen. Like, how is he perceived in the fan base now? Obviously, I genuinely think that back three is very good in terms of Chalobah, Lequax, and I should really get that pronunciation locked down because I'm sure I'll be saying his name a lot more in the next few days. But and then Mark Gahey, love Gahey, great player, really good player. Yeah, I think Fulham will win. I think the goals will come from Iwobi and Jimenez. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling glad all over, but for Fulham, not for Palace. I'm really excited. I love Palace away. I think it's such a cool fixture. It's very easy to access. I used to go to a school very near Selhurst Park, the British school, so it's very reminiscent when I go back to Selhurst. It basically reminds me of some very nice days going to school and Palace being so close to the school. We sometimes would take a wander over and go to Selhurst Park and have a little look at the ground because I was a sad little teenage boy who just loved football and yeah. So look, I think I'm expecting Fulham to line up the same way. I'm actually expecting Wilson to play some part, but maybe not from the start. But if he does start, I'll be delighted for him, and I think he would deserve it as well. I'm nervous because Kamada's very on and off. He could turn it on one day. He might not the next. Munoz, Mitchell, like they'd love to bomb forward. I think I'm more impressed with Mitchell than Munoz as a player. I think I've seen good stuff from Munoz so far this season and not so good stuff. Henderson's always a solid keeper as well, but he can be beaten. We saw that against Nottingham Forest, Chris Wood's goal. I think Fulham will create some chances here, and I think we'll get some joy. Smith Rowe as well in those pockets of spaces. I really do feel like he'll make a difference in the game. Sander Berge was much better, really good against Brentford, and I expect him, to perform at that sort of level again. The confidence will be bursting through these players, and that's good. Sander Berge came in against Villa, and it was a really nervy game for him because he was getting pressed really high, and Villa were making it really difficult for us. But after having a really solid game, or a couple of solid games against Everton and Brentford, his confidence should be sky high. I think I'll leave it there for the review. I think we'll win. I think it'll be a great game. Obviously, Palace have only won one game so far this season. I don't think Palace will go down. I don't think they will. Glasner's a very good manager. It's just been a little bit of a weird start. They lost Elise, they lost a couple of other players, and obviously Elise is doing fantastically well, isn't he, at Bayern Munich? But that combination of Elise and Eze really was something to behold. I'm sure Palace fans miss it a lot. Losing Anderson as well is just a killer blow, and losing him to Fulham, I think he's been a marvellous signing. I'm so excited about Yalki Manison. Genuinely think he's a top player. Really excited about Bassi as well. I love that partnership so much. Tete, brilliant. Robinson, absolutely outstanding on Monday. And then obviously Leno in goal. I absolutely adore this Fulham team. I think it's brilliant. Marco Silva. We must mention that clip of Marco Silva, man management with Wilson, the team speech, the speech after the game against Brentford. It genuinely was unbelievable to watch. And, we don't get much of that. We did it. Do you remember there was like that 3-part documentary when Fulham were getting promoted, and we saw a bit from Marco Silva, but that sort of 1 minute 15 clip of him talking to the squad and then to Harry himself, made me feel really emotional, honestly, because it was just brilliant, and we got to see an insight into Marco as the manager, and God, we're lucky to have him. We are so lucky to have him. What a great time to be a Fulham fan. Might not be saying that on Saturday evening. Might be saying it, doubling down on it Saturday evening. Let's see what happens. Looking forward to this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please do subscribe. And also, if you're thinking, you know what, I quite like this chap, then, you could just think that. But if you do think that, the Patreon is such a cool place to get some more Fulham content. It's £5 a month. We upload every day. You get a very unique view of me covering Fulham from the press box, from the press conference. Speak with Marco pre and post match. You see the press conference in full, pre and post. Loads of updates from me throughout the day on a match day. Palace do the great food as well. Palace are up there with Spurs and City. How good the food is. That's another reason why I'm buzzing. Let's go. The food's going to be so good. Last time it was like jerk chicken and wings and rice and peas. I was genuinely blown away. Loved it. So yeah, the Patreon link is at the bottom. If you go on the description of this video and scroll down, it's at the bottom of the description there. The link is there. It's also in my bio on Twitter, which my handle is there on the screen, and the same is for my Instagram as well. We got 4 new members in yesterday, which was fantastic stuff. Everyone's riding the crest of a wave of after that Derby win. So hopefully more of you can join me on that journey. $5.50 a month, £5 a month, daily Fulham content. You're probably thinking, yeah, but you've got the international break coming up. What are you going to do then? Don't worry. We have plenty of stuff coming. Absolutely top-notch stuff, in my opinion. And I can't wait to share it all with you as well. Guys, I think it'll be Palace 0, Fulham 2. Let me know your thoughts down below. Give your predictions. And Palace fans, if you're watching as well, please do. I really want to hear from you. Keep it civil. Don't want to see any sort of I've been very nice about Palace. You do not need to be unkind to me or unkind to Fulham. And if you do, well, let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Take care and come on, Fulham.